Do you have a friend that goes out fishing? Did he ever say, "That fish was so big it almost sank the boat when I caught it"? Well, maybe that's a tall tale. What is a tall tale? A tall tale is a story with incredible elements told as if it were true and real. Some tall tales are exaggerations of real events. Now, let me give you the 5 ingredients for your tall tale. Each tall tale should have the following: 1. The main character. He has to have extraordinary abilities. But actually, in the best tall tales, those characters are also, for the most part, normal people with whom the audience can easily identify, and maybe they have some inner X power. The main character must face a big obstacle or somebody he has to fight. 3. The plot of the story has to be funny, impossible, and the problem has to be solved in a funny way. The story should contain a lot of exaggeration, a careful blend of exaggerated and believable details. Use some realistic details to capture the audience because they can imagine themselves in such a situation. Then mix in exaggerated details to wow them with a tall tale. With this clever combination of various details, you can really make your audience laugh. For example, the story of an ordinary person walking into a cave and encountering the bat the size of a beer cup can be hilarious. The story of a 10-foot man digging a tunnel in the center of the earth where he meets dragons and dinosaurs is more fantasy than fun. Careful. 4. Clever twists and puns can also be littered throughout the story and add a cherry on top, a comic ending. The last line should make the audience laugh or groan. 5. Eventually, the main character solves a problem, overcomes an obstacle, or defeats the villain. And as in any Toastmaster speech or any speech, always include a message. What would you like the audience to remember out of your tall tale? Now, let me give you some tips. Let's start with what the story should have. It should have a structure, like in any speech, an opening, a problem, a solution, and include the message. You start with the situation, you face the problem, you overcome the problem, and learn from your experience. Your tall tale should be appropriate for your audience. Is the story appropriate for your message? Is it appropriate for your audience? Tall tale stories are meant to entertain adults. Childish language and too much imagination containing prisons, unicorns, elves can make your story seem like a fairy tale. Don't start with once upon a time unless you're doing it ironically. On the other hand, tall tales work best when they have a certain wholesomeness. Some of the club members wrote adult stories. That's maybe not the best solution, as not all members might appreciate that. Just remember that any bad reference will be funnier if you tell them in the most just way possible. Make an effort to express innocent sentences. It might be helpful to imagine telling the story to a ladies' garden society. Whatever you do, don't wink at the audience. This might sound like a good idea, but it looks shabby. A tall tale should be fascinating. Bring the story to life and focus on the needs of your audience and your message. Use facial expression, gestures, vocal push-ups, or props, all tools that you learned in Toastmasters. Be believable. You should be the first one to believe in your story. Speak from your art or from your real experience, or choose a known story that supports your message. Have a twist. It's fun to set up a predictable sequence of events or a predictable logical sequence and then twist the final link of the sequence. Among successful humorists, the rule of three is popular. First, prepare the joke. Second, it reinforces the configuration. Third, it pays off with a punchline that destroys the model. For example, this porridge is too cold. The porridge is too hot. This porridge is asking to meet our leader. Be short. A good tall tale lasts 3 to 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, your audience starts to lose track of all the details. You may find it painful to eliminate humorous lines. However, a day or two later, when you reread your speech, you will realize that the simplified version is in fact much better without those 2 or 3 lines. Now let's look at tips when telling the story. Use vocal variety and accents. Actually, play with the accents for a while and then get rid of the bogus accent, but try to keep in some of that accent flavor. Adding some accent in certain places or creating structures that have accent as support may help your story. Sometimes you could even use a confused tone of voice. Practice alliterations, homonyms, triads. The tall tales are the perfect discourse for practicing those alliterations and other instruments. All the techniques of vocal variety. Instead of saying ladybugs are found in many regions, say from Leesburg to Louisville, ladybugs are hiding. Used sparingly, rhymes can be effective. Instead of saying the car was damaged, try saying the repairs were extensive and expensive. Use repetitions. Many tall tales get livelier with a little repetition. It works best with any part that incorporates humorous gestures, such as the beer went up and down, up and down, up and down the mountain. Consider third person. If the story involves bragging, consider telling it in the third person. For example, one member had a story about how dozens of fabulous men wanted to date her. The first time she told this story, she was bombed. Then she changed the main character so that it was a story about a fabulous man who wanted to go out with their sister. This change made the story itself a lot more fun. Now, tips to prepare. First thing, watch the films Big Fish, Stories of an Incredible Life, and The Secrets of Roan Island. I will give you the links to those 2 stories. They are very good examples of telling tall tales. And finally, practice, practice, practice. With enough practice, the story becomes second nature and flows as part of a conversation. Record yourself telling the story. Even if you don't have access to a video camera, you might be able to do a limited amount of recording with another device, such as your phone. Recording your story will help you see which parts need reworking and optimization. And did you know that there is a contest of tall tales in Toastmasters, and we are having it this year? Tall tales contests are for speeches from 3 to 5 minutes. And in addition to the normal rules, a few exceptions apply. The topic of a tall tale should be highly exaggerated in nature, unlikely, and have a theme or a plot. Humor and props can be used to support or illustrate the speech. Now, the evaluation criteria used in Toastmaster Tall Tales are 3. Content which accounts for 30% of the votes, presentation or delivery 55%, and language 15%. Get ready to compete. A tall tale contest is coming up very soon, and you are invited to be part of it. Have fun.